Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. What is leverage, you ask?
What is leverage?
That's a good question. Leverage is a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It's when you come to the table with so much value that they need you more than you need them, and you're going to get a better deal. You're going to get a yes as opposed to a no. You're going to get attention as opposed to being ghosted. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're going to need in the music business to succeed today is leverage. Your talent is not leverage anymore. Mm-hmm. It has to be more than that. And that's why we created the C.L.I.M.B. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That whole thing was birthed by my songwriter, genius friend, and good co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And Brent helps songwriters like you all the time, every single day, turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then he connects you with the pros to take away that excuse of, I don't know anybody, it's gone. You can find Brent real easy at songwritingpro.com. Once again, songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They help you find your sound, and they help you grow your audience so you can become the artist that everybody loves, so you can get paid. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
How are you, brother?
I'm good. That's D as in delayed.
D as in delayed. We are not only face-to-face in the office once again, filming this podcast, but we have an audience, a peanut gallery back here from Miss Lexi Peggy and some amazing Daredevil interns that make the world move, that make the world spin in the right direction. I love it. I'm grateful for them. So today we're gonna, man, I'm gonna blow your mind. We're gonna drop a bomb.
Okay.
A value bomb.
Value bomb.
It's a value bomb, but it's gonna sting a little bit. It's gonna hurt. You might have some shrapnel.
Might feel a little pressure.
You're gonna feel some pressure. It's gonna be wounded right here. Feel some pressure right here. It's not about you. Because
it's about me.
That's right.
It's not about you. It's about me. That's right.
That's right.
That's exactly right, Johnny. It is not about you. It is about me.
So before we get into that, and we're going to teach you how to really up your game, how to become more successful and really change and move the needle. And you're not the only one that's thinking like this. This is we've touched on the concept of this on a previous podcast, but I want to drill down really deep on this and really give people some concepts moving forward. But before we do that, let's take care of a little business.
Yes.
Number one, join the C.L.I.M.B community if you haven't already. It's on Facebook. It is a rapidly growing community of people helping people, songwriters, indie artists, people talking about marketing, people talking about songwriting. Lots of cool content in there. And we let everybody in that asks to be let in, but you do need to ask to be let in, and just don't be obnoxious or we'll roadhouse you. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. All the full episodes on Tuesday magically appear in your phone, in your podcast player, and all the mini-sodes magically appear on Friday. Share it with a friend. The best thing you could do is a referral. Is say, hey man, this is cool. There's some great content here. You should check this out. If it's another musician friend, another artist friend, another songwriter friend, if you find it valuable, they can find it valuable. And finally, take a couple seconds, leave a 5-star rating and review, and let some people who are thinking about spending a little bit of time here on this podcast know that it's legit.
That's right.
Right? So, speaking of which.
Yes.
Do we have a 5-star review?
I believe we have another tasty 5-star review. This one is from I Am Stice? S-T-E-I-S?
I am good enough for me.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All right, and you are giving us 5 stars. We appreciate that. It's titled Free Information. So Johnny has been helping me for years. I can't keep track of how much great information I've gotten. Thanks for being a great resource.
Awesome.
So
he doesn't like you. He likes me. It's about me.
It is about you.
In the episode that's about you.
See, I can read this because it's not about me. I'm okay with that. It's not about me. But thank you for that 5-star review. We appreciate that.
Well, So here's the thing. When we're talking about trying to expand a brand, when we're talking about trying to get the art and the artist in front of new people and turn them on to you so that you can grow your audience, so that you can make a living doing what you love to do, what you were born to do.
That's right.
Being an artist. It's a different game today, right? It's different. The mass media stuff isn't working like it used to.
Meaning, I just put you on the radio, I put you on the
and we
Tonight
pound
Show,
it into your head, right?
And you're on Ned Sullivan, and everyone's talking about you
over and over and over. And next thing you know, you're famous. You blink your eyes and you're famous, right? It's a different medium. It's a different platform on social media. A few episodes ago, if you go find, I can't remember the number of the episode, but if you find, there's an episode that's the difference between radio and digital marketing on radio and digital marketing. That broaches the concept of what we're going to talk about. What's it called?
That's episode 120, the difference between radio and online marketing.
There you go. So what we're going to do here, we're going to dig down deep more into what does that mean? Like what the digital market, how do I get somebody to care about me and care about my music online? That's the, in marketing you need two things. You need reach and you need frequency. You got to be able to reach them, and then you got to be able to repeat and remarket and continually get them again and again and again and again to get the message inside their head. That's the way songs worked on the radio. It's always been that way. The first time you heard a hit song, you didn't even know you heard it.
Right.
It went in one ear and out the other, and it took 7 or 8 times before it became subconsciously recognizable. It's why companies like Tide detergent love NASCAR, because people sit and watch that darn logo go around a circle for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's the most amazing amount of frequency you could have.
Right.
And so it is, it's there. It's why advertisers love live sports, because it's not binge watching and you can't fast forward through the commercials. It's happening right now and you want to watch. And so their frequency means more in the messaging, because they have to get it inside your head. Number one, to create a new brand name, which is what most of you are trying to do. That's hard. Number two, once you have the brand, Coca-Cola doesn't spend billions of dollars on advertising because
nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, because nobody knows. They want to stay top of mind, right? And so there's that piece of it. And how to do that online, though, is changed, because with broadcasting, we talked about this in the last episode, but it's one-to-many, right? So television is broadcasting, one-to-many.
Right.
Radio, broadcasting, one-to-many. A live show, one-to-many.
Right.
But social media can become broadcasting if you have a massive audience. If you're Taylor Swift, you put out a tweet, that's one-to-many, right? Even though it's still being received one-to-one.
Right, on your phone, handheld, by you.
Yeah. It still blurs into broadcasting.
Right.
Right? And therefore, and the proof in that is, somebody like a Kim Kardashian gets paid $500,000 to tweet out one thing and have it, like your shirt on, or have your handbag,
right? Yeah.
Or something like that. That's going to be worth that kind of money, because everybody's going to see it.
Because you're an influencer.
Yeah, you're an influencer because you have that. But when you're building the brand, when you're building, like, how is it that I've mentioned this on podcasts before, where all of our artists, if they've been with Daredevil longer than, say, 6 months. And I'm generalizing, there's always exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, they've got a bigger audience and a bigger social media accounts with real people engaging them back and forth than any major label artist that isn't famous.
Right.
And you're like, how does that happen? Like, how do we do that? The biggest thing that we understand is that it's one-to-one. And remember in that last episode, we talked about the sales guy, right, at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And we were doing, like, I don't want that guy in my house, but he's there.
The guy yelling at me at the top of his lungs, like he's standing on a used car lot with a big, floppity, wavy guy behind him, trying to get you to come in for Memorial Day or Labor Day.
Exactly. Now he's in your house.
Now he's yelling at me with the same, and he brought the flippity floppity guy, and he's in your living room just waving his arms and bowing and doing that number. You know that
That's
guy?
right. That's right.
The balloon guy? Whatever, yeah.
That's
I
right.
want that in my house.
So sometimes they got to come in there because they got a product that you want, and you have to realize from the perspective of the person who owns the kitchen table, you don't want that sales guy in there.
Right.
But you feel like you need something, and you're going to decide, in the first 30 seconds, if you feel like he cares about you, then you're gonna move on to the next part of the deal, which is the terms, right? Like the product, the quality, the reputation, the price. Can I get payments? Like whatever it is to make that happen is only going to come after you decide whether or not that guy cares about you and your family, if you have a family, right? That's why you're the sales guy online,
right?
That nobody wants,
right?
That nobody needs, and you get to like sort of force your way into their account and say something, and or they come and they're made aware of you, and they're going to come and they're going to look at your feed. And what sort of spurred this on, I want to talk about this, was one of our artists. I'm not going to mention a name. There's a label looking at him right now, which is really exciting, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
This is the first planet that has to align. They got to be interested in looking at him. There's about 10 other planets that have to align.
Right.
So I'm not waving the success flag yet.
Right,
but this is a necessary first step. We're really excited about it. And we went and looked at this label, and we were looking at a couple other artists on the label. They have like one really famous artist that you would know the name of.
Right.
And again, I'm not going to mention that name because I don't want to talk about the label. But this is indicative of like every label. We looked at some of the other artists
who are not famous.
We're not famous.
But have
looked at their numbers, looked at their engagement, and looked at their content.
Yeah.
And you know what it is? Look at me, 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 look at me. Playing here, playing there, did this, I did that. Like, you know, and there's nothing there for me.
Right.
I don't know who that artist is.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of that. I'm like, who's that? You know, I was talking about Randy. Randy's like, oh, it's so-and-so. He said like 3 singles on the radio, on P1 radio, so they spent millions on him already. It's millions of dollars on him already. My artist is just slightly lower than his account. Same
as far as like
numbers of followers. My artist is the percentage of engagement, like you know how much engagement they get, like super close, like negligibly.
So basically,
close.
the same engagement as this guy who spent millions of dollars of his label's money to get P1 radio spins, and your artist hasn't. Yeah. So he's getting so much more bang for the buck, right? So much more fan for the buck.
Exactly. Now, how is that happening? Like, what is it? So, two things going on here. Number one, we've got something that's working, and I want to share that with you. Number two is you're not the only one that's screwing it up. You know, and so I recommend, like, if you haven't heard episode 120, stop this, go back and listen to that first, and then we're going to dig down into this.
Right. So the good news is you're screwing it up like a bunch of people. The good news is you're qualified to work for many record labels. The bad news is you're not qualified to work for Daredevil.
That's right. You're going to need to step it up, and you're going to get more success from it. So the key is this. You and I have talked before about Seth Godin, who's like our marketing guru, right? Yeah. Seth Godin's marketing guru, who's like the overlord. Like if Seth Godin's like a high priest.
If he's like Darth Vader, this is like Emperor Palpatine.
Yes, exactly. And that is Zig Ziglar. Yeah. Very, very famous sales guy. And you might be rolling your eyes right now. Oh, sales. We're going to talk about sales. I'm an artist. Right. So I'm gonna drop this quote on you first here, okay? I have always said that everyone is in sales. Maybe you don't hold the title of salesperson, but if the business that you're in requires you to deal with people, you, my friend, are in sales.
Yes, you are.
And as an artist, as a songwriter, as a musician, the people that listen, that are in our community here for this podcast, what kind of people they got to deal with? People. Like you got to deal with other band members, right? Yeah. You got to deal with program directors at radio stations. You got to deal with agents, booking agents. You got to deal with press. You got to deal with
deal with publishers, A&R people if you're a writer or an artist. Yeah,
and engineers if you're in a studio. You got to deal with fans, right? Yeah. And as an artist, you're trying to expand your. These are people you got to deal with, and if you don't know how to deal with them effectively, and you're doing it in a manner that is effective on this platform but not on this platform, you're frustrated. You're not growing, and here's why. People don't buy for logical reasons. They buy for emotional reasons. You think you buy for logical reasons. You know, you think that, and it feels good. It resonates in your core values that a 6-cylinder engine should cost more than a 4-cylinder engine because it's 2 more cylinders. Right? Yeah. So it's like 33% more or 50% more power, and therefore it should cost more. But then if you went and sat down with a Lotus Esprit mechanic and he would blow your mind, and has a little 4-cylinder engine would just kick the butt of your biggest 6-cylinder that you have 6 ways from Sunday. You're like, wait, what? Yeah. So we buy for emotional reasons. And when you understand that, and we're not talking about just selling merch here or T-shirts or selling CDs, talking about them buying into you, the concept of you, the concept of you as a songwriter, the concept of you as a valid. Let's say if you're a publisher, not only do you have some talent, but you're also somebody I could work with, right? Like they're buying into you.
They want to hang out with you,
right? Yeah. Or if you're trying to get new fans as a independent artist online, and what's going to make them interested in buying into you? You don't have the luxury of shoving your art down their throat like you could with radio,
right?
I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that like in a super all-powerful way, right? Like you're forced to. It used to be about the art first because that's the way radio worked, and the music could do the talking,
right?
And they didn't have a choice because they had to listen many times, and then if it was good, they came around.
Right. I want to find out more about Guns N' Roses. I want to find out more about Nirvana because I keep hearing their stuff.
Right. And now you don't have that luxury because you can't push that song on me. I don't care about you. Why don't I care about you? Because I don't know you and I don't think that you care about me.
Right, yeah.
Right? I don't think that you care about me. So we have every time I get a new possible client that comes on board and they're going to we're thinking about we're doing the dance, are we going to work? Like they're checking us out, we're checking them out. Inevitably, I'll go look on the feeds, and it's all about them.
Right.
It's not about me. There's nothing there for me. I don't know them from a can of paint. There's nothing there to strike a tone with me. Like, why do I care about what your tour schedule is if I don't know you?
Right.
Right. And so think about the marketing process of. Number one, if you're grasping this and you're like, okay, I realize that whether I like it or not, whether I believe it or not, whether I want to or not, I'm going to have to do some marketing. I'm going to have to break some people's thought processes, break their pattern interrupt, and get them to say, hey, look at me. And then when you go and look at them, there better be something for them on your feed, right? Otherwise, it's just, everybody's got that friend.
I was thinking about that friend.
Yeah, that just always talks about themselves.
Oh, yeah. The phone rings like, oh, I wonder what their drama is right now. Because that's the only time they call. I had a friend like that for a while.
Yep.
That every time she would call, I knew this. Like, ooh, there's going to be drama.
Yep.
Not involving me. I'm just going to hear about it.
Yes.
And it's clockwork. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, so sometimes you don't even pick up the phone. You're like, I can't deal with it.
It's just like, I ain't got time for this.
And sometimes you do pick up the phone because they're a friend.
Yeah.
Now, you're at a party with a bunch of your buddies, a bunch of your friends, and then you meet this person for the first time, and they're not a friend, and all they do is talk about themselves.
They're still not a friend.
What do you think?
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Oh, gotta go to the bathroom.
So, why on earth would you have your content on your social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, all about you?
Right. Everyone's favorite subject is themselves, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So, their favorite subject is not you.
Yeah.
It's themselves.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a story I told a while back about an artist, a friend of mine. I might have wrote a blog about it. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but he and this is a common sort of misconception, right? Like he was from a small town in a flyover state, okay, and a talented dude, like a good guy, super talented, great writer, like he deserved to be heard, like that guy, great talent. He met like a really, really big famous producer one time. And he got a chance to shake his hand, talk about him, and the producer was like the obligatory, well, hey, man, stop by the office sometime, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, so we did it. Like, I came down a month later, and we went, and he wouldn't let us in. Like, we couldn't talk to him. Like, and he was pissed.
Yeah.
Like, as if that guy lied to him.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, he doesn't know you.
Yeah.
Like, what's in it for him right now?
Right, yeah.
He doesn't know. Like, so you have to create that, you have to deepen, how do we deepen that relationship? You got to do something for them. It's got to be about them, right? Like, so when you, one of the biggest challenges we have at Daredevil is, especially with an artist that we start working with who has taken ownership of their social media, a lot of times it's just neglected, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to do what we want to do, and it's a little bit more carte blanche. But sometimes they've taken ownership of it. They have a certain particular way that they do things. And I love that they take ownership of it, but then I have to have a conversation with them. Like, okay, part of the reason why you're paying me the money that you're paying me is because we're going to post some stuff that you wouldn't think about posting.
Right.
And here's what we're going to do. It's me stuff about them, like a quote, right? It's something that isn't your tour schedule, something that isn't you backstage, something that's valuable and relevant to them, right? That's why we've talked about Granger Smith in the past with Earl Dibbles Jr. The content of Earl Dibbles Jr. was relevant and personal to his audience.
Because it was entertaining.
It was entertaining. And it was entertaining because it was about that, like they knew somebody that was like that guy.
Right, yeah.
Right? And so when you put even for businesses, man, I subscribe to a couple different podcasts that are just about business social media. And it's still, you think it's played out because you see it all the time. But quotes, awesome. Like because it reaches that one person at that one time.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, because they're aware of what that sentiment or that emotion right then and there. And they have it. Like I have a blog that I regularly shoot out on social media. It's in like regular rotation called Don't You Dare Give Up, Top 10 Reasons Not to Give Up. Yeah. And inevitably, I'll get an email from one person. It's like, dude, today was the day that I needed to read that. You know, because they were there. They were and that's the thing, right? And that's for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I hit that same thing with the Songwriting Pro blog. Is recently there and in Freddie, I've blogged about, you know, the challenges of having a day job and pursuing songwriting and not giving up and you know, quote cards like that. And I don't, you know, post quote cards on Instagram or stuff like that about like, I had an Alan Jackson cut. Right. Peace out. Yeah, who cares?
It would be funny if you put that on a quote card. What a douche.
I know. But, you know, I had, let's see if I can pull it up on Instagram, but some of the stuff that gets more reaction is the kind of stuff that meets somebody where they are, and it's about them, right? It's not about what I want to say, it's about what somebody needs to hear or what hopefully I think they need to hear. So I have one that says, you know, no one will ever believe in you and your music until they finally do. Don't quit. No one will ever believe it. And, you know, some of the comments are just like, true, love this. Oh, I needed that today.
Yeah.
You know, today hit me. And some of the blogs lately have been about, you know, the day job stuff. It's like, man, thank you. You know, I needed that today. And they're reading it because it's connecting with them. There's not anything about me in those blogs. It's about the other people. And that's the stuff that's getting shared and people are connecting to emotionally.
And then so they read that, they decide they like you, they like the way you think.
Yeah, I'm drawn to the conversation that's in their head.
Trust with you. Yeah.
I'm drawn to the conversation that's already in their head. That's a good way of putting that. I heard that somewhere. And, you know, so therefore I'm in there. Yeah. I'm in their head. Yeah. And so they appreciate that giving. I mean, that's one thing people love about songs. If you give voice to the conversation that's already in their head and give them words to say that they didn't have words for some of these feelings or whatever before. Now you put the words and the melody to what they're already feeling. Yep. You know,
and so what happens there is they begin to create a relationship with you. They become aware of you. Yeah. They feel comfortable with you. There's something there for them. You're helping them, and now all of a sudden they're like, "What's this Songwriting Pro thing? Like, what's going on here? Like, you know, so Brent, I could like improve my songwriting with you." Now all of a sudden they're doing business, right? Yeah, and that's how it starts. So guys, when you're an artist, okay, so how can you do that for people that are in your community? Like, whatever kind of artist you are. What are some common likes? What are some common things that they like? And construct your content as much as you can to be about them. You need to pepper in Right. You need to pepper in those tour dates, that show date.
Right, the backstage thing to show that, you're...
Because now you're a friend that's also cool because you're in a band.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? There's a really big example of this. I'm going to share this with, like, Taylor Swift. Is brilliant at this, right? So Taylor Swift is like the one artist who was young enough to really have come into the social media game fully aware of how it works and how to play that game. Yeah. But broke in the mid 2000s when radio was still really strong and broke new artists, right? So she had the benefit of being launched by radio, which we don't now, right? Like radio's probably not going to launch you. Like, I talked to the guys at that one record label I talked about, 3 P1, millions of dollars spent on radio, and you don't know his name. You wouldn't know who the hell he is. Like, and I could probably name 5 of them right now if you put a gun to my head like that. You know what I mean? So it's not launching people anymore. So how are you going to get that person to pay attention to you. It has to be about you first. They have to like you first. Then they're going to listen to the music. Right? And the way that you're going to do that is you have to like them first, right? And we've talked about before on Expand Your Brand, like you got to follow them first, right? And then they're like, oh, this person, wow, thank you for following me. Hey, that's great. And then they go and they're going to look at your feed. And if you got stuff that's all about you, you're the obnoxious guy. Yeah. But if there's some stuff in there about them, now they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. It could be comedy stuff that you DJ.
Yeah.
Right? That's funny. I do that all the time on my personal feed.
Yeah.
And if it's relevant to Daredevil and if it's relevant to the C.L.I.M.B community, I'll share it there too.
Right.
Because they're different audiences, right?
Right.
But in some instances, but comedy stuff, heartfelt stuff. The puppy that finds its home, the puppy that gets rehab that was starving, that was loaded with mange, and these people can't, like those kinds of stuff. That's relevant and personal. Somebody likes dogs, and man, if they're feeling that on your feed and they share it from your feed, you just struck a chord. You've created, you've had that really good conversation with somebody you just met, and they walk away going, man, I like that guy.
Well, a lot of times that happens when you talk about them the whole time. They haven't learned anything about you, and then they leave going, what a great conversation.
Yeah.
And you just ask them questions about them or whatever, and they didn't even talk about you. And
like that brings up the Craig Curtis story with when I was playing on his Twitter back in 2013. Twitter was a lot hotter then than it is now, and we had just sent out that song Haggard Fan. We interrupted the pattern because we followed a bunch of people. Number one, we loved them first. They were Haggard fans because they were like following Merle Haggard's Twitter account. That's where I found him. They followed him back. We automatically sent him a download. Back then it used to be cool, now it's not, but we automatically sent him a link to a download of a song called Haggard Fan. So this is a very specific instance. If the song was called anything else, this wouldn't have worked, right? But then
I'm a Haggard fan.
Right, I'm a Haggard fan. Click, and they download it. They get and the song rocked. It was amazing, and there was, for all these reasons, like it was very cool for them. And so we had, like, in 3 months we had 2,000 downloads of that song. But we would get, people would tweet out about it, right? And they would tweet the artist, and I was pretending to be the artist on the account. And so this is so worth repeating. Like, this dude just, hey man, sit in the garage, cranking Haggard Fan, killer song, right? He took the time to shout out this artist and want to say, dude, I love this, you know? And most artists are going to do what?
Heart.
Yeah, thanks. Cool, rock, horns up.
Maybe repost it or retweet it.
Thumbs up, retweet it, like, look at how cool I am, right?
Exactly. Other people like it. Social proof. So, which, I mean, there is value to social proof, but...
So I tweet back to the guy, I'm like, wow, man, thanks, ... wait. And this is intentional. How can I make this about him?
Yeah.
And he gave me one little nugget of information. What are you doing in the garage? You know, like now he's got me. He could be working on a car. I don't know, building a bomb. I don't know what's going on. Right?
Write my manifesto and make my nail long.
That's right. And he's like, oh man. Then all of a sudden he you could just feel how you can feel the energy sometimes, like in a text or a tweet. Like he was excited now. He's like, me and my buddy are in here sitting on lawn chairs, cranking Haggard Fan, drinking beers, and minding the grill outside. Another piece of information. Yeah. And it's a man and a grill, like, done, right? And so I'm like, dude, what do you, a grill, you know what you're doing with that thing? Boom. I get a picture of the grill, you know, and it's gorgeous. So I'm like, dude, that looks fantastic. Now I'm high-fiving him for something that he's doing really well. And he was looking like up. He thinks this artist is on a pedestal. Right, because he loves the song. He loved that song. And it sounded like a major label track, not for nothing. I co-produced it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I'm like, well, what kind of marinade are you using? I'm just trying to figure out what kind of questions can I ask this guy about him? Yeah. So sick that after that tweet, he's like, dude, it's then he gets back to the tweet. He goes, it's Dale's marinade, which just straight up happened to be like randomly my favorite marinade, but for steak. He was using it on chicken. I'm like, dude, you can use that on chicken? I love that for steak. Now we're having a real, that was me just asking him questions. Now we're having this real exchange. Yeah. Dude, like 8 tweets coming because he couldn't fit it all in 140 characters. Like, that's it. If you guys come through town, you stay at my house. Like, if I find out that you're staying at a hotel room, I mean, the whole bus, I got room to park the bus. Like, the whole crew can stay. I'm going to get you drunk. I'm going to get you fed. Like, we're going to grill out. Like, I will take you, save some money. He's trying to add value to us so bad, right? Yeah. And I was just working the single. We didn't have a record. I didn't have a hat, a koozie, a bar. If I had all that, you think that guy would have bought? Oh, yeah. And that was 10, 15 minutes of my time
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, how can you... So think like Jeopardy, right? You have to put your answer in the form of a question. Put your content in the form of a question. How can you make it about them? And when you really dig down in that, now you're starting to create relationships, and they're going to start to like you. Maya Angelou said, people, when they first meet you, aren't going to remember what you wore, and they're not going to remember what you said. They're going to remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So when you focus on that, which, by the way, is sales, which is why we started this out the way we started this out, okay? And you're dealing with people and you're making them feel good about themselves, then, my friend, you are going to see the needle move, and you're going to see your interactions go up. I mean, I can't tell you how prideful I was to know that, like, my artist had almost the same amount of followers on Instagram, and like relatively the same level of engagement.
Yeah.
And this guy's had been like 3 like major singles on major radio, on P1 primary radio, like they spent millions, and we did this for
much less. Right.
Much less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got to say about that, guys. If you want some more guidance on this, I mean, this it's a muscle, and once you start to flex it and you start asking those questions, then I promise you, your subconscious is going to deliver for you. You're going to get that inspiration and start to twist up the way that you put your content on there, and it's going to move the needle for you. It's going to change the way people think about you, and you're going to get some new fans and get into growth, because there's going to be something for them, and then they're going to hear the music.
Yeah.
And then at that point, that's up to you, right? They better love it. Okay, you better be like on that level.
You better bring it, right? Yeah.
You better bring it. But if you want some more guidance on how to do this, some more tricks, and just talk about different ways that we can look at your custom feed and certain things that you're doing as an individual, and we can create a custom strategy for you, then schedule a consulting session today. Email us at info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. Once again, info@daredevilproduction.com. In the subject line, put consulting. There's a charge for it, yes, but it's an education. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not even hundreds of dollars, okay? But it is a charge. It's worth it, and we'll change your life, okay? Get in touch with us, set up that consulting session, and watch what we can do for you. So, man, that brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode.
Yes.
Right? Join the Climb community if you haven't already. All right? Ask to be let in. We let everybody in. There's everybody in there's interacting with everybody else, and you can find lots of different answers, lots of different examples of what other people are doing with their feeds, with their song lyrics, with their music to up their game and become more competitive. Subscribe to the podcast. Make sure all those episodes come immediately in there. Share it with a friend. That's the best compliment you can give us.
Yes, it is.
Share it with a friend, and then finally take a moment or two, leave a 5-star rating, and put a little review in there and tell them why you like it. Tell other people who were thinking about listening why you like it. All right? This podcast exists, guys, because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.